Hello and welcome to Open Line. I'm Kathy Whiteman. It may still be in the 90s outside, but when fall weather finally rolls in, a lot of people will want a nice cozy fire. Well, since October 6th through 12th is National Fire Prevention Week, we've invited public educator Jason Reed to give us tips on how to enjoy that cozy fire safely, as well as some other useful information to help you stay safe this fall. Later on in the show, we'll have an update on Fire Station 4 with Assistant Fire Chief Richard Stewart. Thank you so much for being here, Jason.
Thank you for inviting me.
So public education, that's a big role with the fire department because that's the first line of prevention, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, we try to do what we can to educate people ahead of time before the fire starts and give them some tips and things on what they can do to prevent our other services from actually being used.
All right, wonderful. So let's dig right in. What's the most common causes of fires?
Well, the most common cause of residential fires nationwide is actually cooking. There's quite a few fires that we have from either unattended cooking or cooking while the person is intoxicated, something like that. So definitely if people can stay at the stove, stay attentive to what they're cooking, then we can cut down on those numbers some.
All right, that's wonderful. So speaking of fire hazards in the home, one of the things that I remember growing up, there were always commercials about don't smoke in bed, you know. So what about somebody that causes a fire that way, or an unattended candle?
Sure. Yeah, I've seen both of those quite a few times while working here for the city of Irving. People shouldn't smoke in bed. You shouldn't ever smoke while you're intoxicated. Being intoxicated kind of goes along with a lot of our fire causes like cooking or like candles. I remember a couple of Christmases ago, I went to a house fire where a lady had been drinking, placed a candle in the windowsill, and it caught the curtains on fire.
Oh,
so
that's not good.
Practicing some basic safety with those things can help prevent, house fires.
The fire department has a lot of education available for fire safety, and it's for all ages, from little kids all the way to adults. So let's start with classes for adults. What kinds of things do you teach, and tell us how we can get involved in that?
Yes, ma'am. So we teach quite a few classes for adults. We have CPR classes and first aid classes. Now, it's not a certification, but it is a basic awareness and a hands-on class. We've got fire extinguisher classes on when to use, how to use fire extinguishers. For larger companies, high-rise buildings, we do have what's called a fire warden class, which is one of our more popular classes. It's how to deal with evacuation and emergency situations that you would find in large buildings. So,
I know people can be pretty nervous about that, particularly if they're on vacation and they're staying in a hotel. So do you talk about that as well?
Yes, ma'am. We do offer vacation fire safety, hotel fire safety programs where we talk about making your home safe before you leave for vacation and, unplugging certain things, making sure that if you have lights on a timer, those bulbs are the correct size and wattage for that lamp, just so that you don't cause a fire while you're not there. And then as far as once you arrive at a hotel, motel, making sure that you are fire safe within that space. So,
well, electrical fires are top of mind for us here at ICTN because we had one a little while back, and again, kudos to the Irving Fire Department for getting in here and making things work for us again.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me ask about special audiences. Do you have classes for people that are physically challenged or for senior citizens?
Yes, ma'am. We do conduct classes of that nature whenever they're requested. I mean, we've got special considerations for people like that to think about as far as fall hazards or egress. I mean, if you're disabled, it can be a little more challenging for you to get out of a building once it's on fire. So we do go and talk to people about that on some safety planning ahead of time.
All right, great. So there's this whole range of classes that you've got. Tell us how people can register for them.
On our website is the best way. We've got a form there you can fill out and request a class. There are contact phone numbers on there if you want to call in and request a class, but that online form is the easiest way.
All right, good. Then we will flash that up so that folks can know how to get in touch with you guys. I'm really interested in classes for children because you've sort of got to lay those out by their ability. And I know that you start as young as pre-K.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, just because of the nature of fire, right? We can't predict when it will happen, but we do want everyone to be prepared for those instances. So we, as early as pre-K, we do have things like crawling out under smoke or stop, drop, and roll. I mean, everyone's taught stop, drop, and roll. And through the grades, then we'll progress up. Like third grade is a very popular one that we do for a lot of Irving ISD and private schools around Irving. We have what's called our fire safety house, which teaches kids to crawl under smoke, to be able to call 911. We've actually got a phone simulator so they can call and speak to one of our City of Irving employees and practice calling 911. In sixth grade, we teach children to use fire extinguishers. At that point, we think they're old enough, responsible enough to where they can use a fire extinguisher properly. High school, we offer, again, fire extinguishers for culinary students, and some safety considerations for those kitchen fires, and then CPR classes. So we kind of transition up through the ages, but we want to do age-appropriate fire safety classes.
Do you guys still use Sparky the Fire Dog for your younger kids?
We do on occasion use Sparky the Fire Dog, and that's requested occasionally. We have a couple of Sparky the Fire Dog suits around the city.
We didn't say that out loud because there's actually a Sparky the Fire Dog, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Got to keep that going.
Yes.
Got to keep that going. What else should little kids know about fire safety at home?
As far as evacuation, it's a spot to meet up at, and we always emphasize for young kids, have two ways out. I mean, talk to your parents about your bedroom window. Besides having the avenue of leaving through your bedroom door, what if there's a fire there? So we talk about using the bedroom window as a second means of escape, and then having a meeting place so that the parents know the children made it out in time.
Yeah, it's a scary thing when you think about how easily it can happen, how quickly a fire can escalate, and you've got your kids, and in my case now, pets. You want to make sure that everybody gets out safe. So I think that plan is an important thing to have in place. We're about to be in fall. I mentioned earlier in the show that it's still in the 90s, and we're in Texas, so there we are. But a lot of people are going to want to get out and maybe do some camping or some cooking out now that it's not quite so hot outside. What do we need to be aware of in terms of outdoor fires or recreational fires?
For sure. So if you are going to have a campfire, recreational fire of some sort, do be safe with it. Make sure that it's legal to actually have a campfire where you are camping or spending the day at. And then clear debris from around that area that you're actually going to burn, leaves or wood in. Also have something available to extinguish that fire, whether it's a bucket of water, a water hose, maybe a shovel with some dirt. But do also be aware that just because you bury a fire with dirt doesn't mean it's quite out. So we do want to make sure those campfires are 100% out before leaving that area. Okay,
so not just bury it with dirt, but go ahead and douse it pretty good with some water and make sure that. Ma'am. So if it's still smoking, do we need to keep pouring water on? I'm not sure how do we know when it's time to stop?
Yes, I would definitely add more water until the smoking is out. Basically, you've cooled that wood to the point to where it's no longer smoking. Okay, good deal. This is from somebody who has never camped in their lives, so I thought I'd better just be real particular about that question. So the fire department has a lot of resources online for people to learn a lot about fires, but one thing that really caught my attention was the post-fire checklist. Tell us about that. The post-fire checklist is basically a list of things to do, things to remember to get, people to call after you've had a house fire or an apartment fire, wherever your residence is. And we do have actually a pamphlet that we can reference and give people. We pass it out to people who've been the victim of a fire, but it talks about things like getting certain valuables out of that burned out residence, being safe, being careful in the event that you do go back into your house after we've made sure that it is a safe post-fire scene. It talks about not discarding things until you talk to your insurance, and then not contracting third parties until you've spoken with your insurance, just because you want to make sure everything is covered, everything is paid for. And then as far as getting additional help, it's got some numbers as far as the American Red Cross and things like that. They can provide extra help just in case your insurance hasn't paid out enough or something like that. You need a place to stay for the night. Additional resources can be found that way.
And it's all of those things that you just, until you face the situation that you just don't think about. So I know that it's going to be very helpful for folks to know about that. Any other resources you want us to know about that might be available, just like the checklist?
Yeah, we do have a number of pamphlets as far as our fire safety programs available in both English and Spanish. And we have a number of resources available on our website as far as different types of fire safety, like the topics that we've been going over. Mm-hmm. And we've got a couple of fire extinguisher videos on there and some links to other online fire safety training.
So what about, you mentioned teaching little kids how to call, how to call 911. Mm-hmm. What about the times when we should call 911? Because I know you also teach them when it's not appropriate to call. Sure.
Yes, ma'am. If you ever have any sort of doubt, you think maybe you might need help, definitely call 911. We would rather, if someone's maybe having a medical issue, call us first, get us out there, we'll check it out. The same thing with fire safety, If you think you smell something burning, you're not really sure where that might be coming from, you're not sure if you have a fire, that's okay. Our guys on the engines and trucks will be happy to come out, check it out for you, and prevent something from being much worse.
Yeah, because it can escalate fast, so.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
On average, fire actually doubles in size every 60 seconds in our modern residences. So we definitely want to get the fire department there as soon as we can.
That is a very scary statistic.
Yes, ma'am. That is why we teach little kids that your first priority is to get outside and then call 911. We don't want them waiting around inside the house to see if it gets worse or anything. So,
I want to ask you about, since the holidays are coming up, things like fireworks, and we're not supposed to have them in the city, within city limits, I think, but folks still do it. So what kinds of precautions should people take?
Sure. Yeah, it's illegal to possess or use fireworks within the city limits of the city of Irving. If you do go somewhere that it is legal to use them, definitely be careful. There are a large number of burns that hospitals see every year due to fireworks use, improper use of them. Definitely follow the instructions on the package. Don't try to hold any fireworks that should not be held. If you've got a bottle rocket, let that fly off by itself. Don't try to hold on to those types of things. So definitely, follow the instructions there and don't try to impress your friends. And be careful if you're out drinking too. Don't mix drinking and fireworks.
Yeah. And again, this is something that I don't know about, so hopefully you can help me with it. Are there age advisories for fireworks that they if you're younger than this age, don't touch this or whatever?
There probably are some recommended ages as far as different types of fireworks use. One of the big ones that we need to be careful with is sparklers and small children. People assume because it's just pretty and it burns right here on a stick that it's safe, but in actuality there are a large number of fireworks burns every year come from using sparklers like that, and they burn very, very hot. It's my understanding they burn somewhere like 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's very, very hot, and you can easily burn your hands, burn your clothes, something like that, if you don't hold it away from your body properly. So yeah, definitely avoid giving those to little children. There are non-flammable fireworks that shoot streamers, things like that. They're available for sale at a lot of the stores around Irving around those holidays. And so something like that would be more appropriate for young children.
Yeah, that's great. That's a good tip. Thank you. We appreciate that. Before we wrap up, I've got a couple of quick questions that I want to ask you. One of the things that I know my friends are doing, and a lot of folks will be doing, is heading out for vacation this fall. What do we need to do to make sure that our houses that everything at home is okay for us to go on a vacation? Do you have any tips for that?
Sure, yeah. Definitely make sure you unplug a lot of our appliances that we like to plug in. If you've got coffee makers, espresso machines, things like that, make sure you unplug those. It's even sometimes recommended to unplug DVD players, TVs, just things that draw a lot of power. And then secondly, like I mentioned earlier, if you have lights on a timer, because I know a lot of us have those, just go take a look at the light bulb inside those lamps. If you've got a bulb that's above the wattage recommended for that lamp, you can actually cause a fire while you're away from home, you're unaware of it. So, take a look at those things. If you do have any concerns about any electrical devices or the circuits in your home or apartment, definitely contact an electrician, somebody qualified to come out and look at those things.
That's great. And then as I wrap things up, the holidays are coming pretty soon. Any particular things that you guys at the fire department want us to be aware of with regard to the holidays and fire safety prevention?
Sure. If you are going to be burning wood in a fireplace or a chimney, I would recommend having that chimney inspected and cleaned. We do recommend that every single year you have that inspected and cleaned. We did a while back have a number of different fires where there was a problem with the chimney, it wasn't connected right or something similar to that, and just a simple inspection and cleaning would have prevented those fires. And the other thing is just cooking safety. Again, you know, being there at the stove, making sure, you know, you don't put water on a grease fire or something like that. And by the way, if you do get a fire, the easiest way to put it out on your stovetop is just put a lid on the pan and turn the stove off. If you don't have a lid for that pan, you can take a flat metal cookie sheet, something like that, slide it over the top and turn the stove off.
I know because my brother's a firefighter that if we cut that oxygen source off, that's going to be a really good thing.
Yes, ma'am.
So,
yes, ma'am.
There are online classes you mentioned a little bit earlier as well. How do we access those?
If you just go to our website, follow the links for fire safety education, then there's one for online education, and we do have a couple of different options that we offer, and then links to other websites such as FEMA or Know What to Do, you know, that offer online classes as well.
All right, fantastic. You have just been a fount of information today. I really appreciate you being here and helping folks to understand what to be aware of when it comes to preventing a fire in your home, taking care of your families, your properties, and your pets. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Up next, we'll have an update on Fire Station Number 4 with Assistant Chief Richard Stewart. Assistant Fire Chief Richard Stewart joins us now with an update on Fire Station Number 4. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having us, Kathy.
I think I remember seeing current Fire Station Number 4 when I first came to Irving, and that was 39 years ago. So exactly how old is Fire Station Number 4?
Fire Station 4 was opened in September 1960. So it's been around a while, and it's outlived its life. It's kind of small, not very energy efficient. We're actually finding it difficult to buy fire engines that will actually fit in there. So it's becoming more and more challenging. So we're fortunate to have the new station on its way.
Yeah, so technology has outgrown the station and a lot of other things. So obviously that's, you know, one of the decisions that went into making the change. Any others?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's primarily that was it, that it just lived its life. And so the challenge becomes, you know, now what do we do? So we looked into building a new fire station there. And then the other option was trying to find a piece of property to build another fire station. It's challenging because fire stations are put strategically throughout the city so we respond quickly and cover all the city. So fortunately, the Toller property was available, and that worked out really well.
So the Toller family, I think that name would probably be familiar to a lot of older Irving families. Did they provide the land to you guys? How did that all work out? What's the connection?
The Toller family was, you know, it's funny, I've been a firefighter for 25 years, and it's always been the Toller property. Man, that'd be a great place for a fire station. And then actually I believe it was a developer that had the land, and we contacted the developer and were fortunate to give just under 2 acres to put the fire station there.
That's great. We're taking a look at that location. Can you tell us where that is?
That's on the corner of Toller and Metker, and it's going to be addressed to 800 block of Metker. So yeah, it's just under 2 acres. It's got a lot of beautiful pecan trees. We're gonna save those and kind of create a little memento for the Toller family. We're going to have a monument in there to recognize the Toller property and the Toller family, that it was established, and we found the deed record of 1873, so their legacy will live on within the city.
Now that's wonderful.
Yes.
To sort of a tribute to them
Yes.
and keeping some Irving history alive, which
Absolutely.
is a good thing. That's
Yeah,
great.
it is.
So it sounds like a really great location, but you mentioned that the strategic placing of fire stations is a real important part of this whole formula. So how does that work for you guys to have it there at the corner of Medgar and Toller?
It actually works really well. We did a study a few years ago on our response times, and that's what we do, right? We're all about getting there quickly. And we recognized that the eastern part of Station 4's district was actually lacking that response time. So moving it a little bit south and a little bit east actually works really well for our plan.
Okay, so this is all a win-win.
It is a win-win,
yeah,
absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about plans for the new station. Obviously, it's got to be big enough to accommodate the new technology. What else can we look forward to?
It's like an 8,500 square foot building. It'll house a fire engine and an ambulance and up to 7 firefighters. We are using kind of a hill country theme, white Austin stone, a metal roof, a wraparound porch. So it'll look really nice in the neighborhood, and we're really excited about it.
Yeah, I think people will be pleased to see that too. You know, the most important thing is that it functions the way that you need to, but if you've got to live with a building in your neighborhood for the next 60 to 80 years, it doesn't hurt that it looks nice, and that really looks nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, we're very thankful for the citizens to approve the bond to make this happen, as well as council and the city manager to move forward with it. So we're super excited about it.
That's great. You mentioned earlier that you guys are doing some things to preserve some of the pecan trees. I know that you're also trying to make sure that you can get LEED certification for the building as well. Why were those kind of environmental concerns important to you?
It's important to the city. The city set that standard, and of course the fire department will follow that, and it's a good thing. It's all encompassing. It starts in the design phase of the station. LEED is being eco-friendly, you know, friendly to the environment, and it's, like I said, and also friendly to the firefighters and the visitors to walk in the station, you know, from the materials that are used in the building to the cleaning products we use in the building. Even in the construction phase, they recycle the concrete and recycle the metal for the betterment of the environment. So it's a really good program.
That's great. I have to ask, because of my personal interest in firefighters, my brother was a firefighter for Dallas for many years. It's important that these guys have a place that they can go and rest after they've done the hard work that they do. Is the building going to be more comfortable for them?
Oh, absolutely. You know, we're going from a small, maybe a 1,200 square foot living space to a much larger living quarters. We've concentrated on the station having several factors, one being wherever that person is in the station, they can get to the apparatus quickly. Two, we put the main shower and bath in the middle of the station, so when they come back from a fire, they can go in, get cleaned up for their health. You know, there's a lot of carcinogens in the fires today, so we want to eliminate as many carcinogens that are brought into the living quarters. So we did that. We put the main shower in between the two, and we provide a workout room where they can be physically fit, as well as some other amenities to help them rest and get ready for the next call.
That's great. That's great. It's when you talk about the fact that they can get out of those dirty clothes and get the carcinogens, you know, rinsed off their bodies. You really put a lot of thought into making this thing 21st century.
We absolutely did, you know, because it's going to last for another 60 years most likely. So we tried to strategically think as much as we could to be responsive out of the station, what's in the best interest for the visitors and, of course, the firefighters.
That's great. So let's wrap up with this. Where are we now in the process? The
process is we're in the middle of pouring the slab of which the building will be erected on. We're looking at a end of March completion date. I would suspect it'll probably be into April, and we'll probably open it in May, I would guess. Right now, we're in the early stages. It's just a few months into the build.
Well, I know that you guys are looking forward to it, and the community can look forward to a brand new fire station sometime in the middle of 2020.
Yes, ma'am.
All right,
absolutely.
Wonderful. Thank you so much
for
spending a little time with me and giving us an update on the project.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And thank you guys so much for tuning in to Open Line. I'm Kathy Whiteman. Please be sure to join us on Thursday, November 7th for our next edition of the show, and we'll see you then.